and stuff happened, and we're live, and it looks like everything's like working the way it's supposed to. It's wild.
Amazing.
I know.
It's a holiday miracle.
It really, but like it really is though, okay? They started making fun of me in chat because I always have technical issues. But no, seriously.
Chat, how dare you?
How dare?
I'm here to talk to you about your behavior. So disappointed.
That's true. It's true, Chad. I told on you to this nice lady who works on the Bidja game. So she said, I'll come and I'll tell him. That's what happened.
That's literally why I'm here. That, like, this isn't an interview. It's just like me scolding everyone.
I mean, is that kind of your job?
It's like a little bit my job. Just a little bit.
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's a firm hand being like, no, don't ask me for a code to the game while being a complete butthole. Ask for it nicely. You be nice now. Yeah.
Exactly. Then it all works out.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, so let me introduce you, and then you can introduce more of yourself. But everybody, this is Victoria Tran, the community director for Among Us, and also a pretty awesome mental health advocate who has done a lot to raise awareness on how community directors handle and deal with mental health issues, and just being honest herself. So, Victoria, what I missed? Tell us more about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, I'm the community director at Intersectional. Before that, I was the communications director at a little indie studio called Kitbox Games, and they do games like Boyfriend Dungeon and also publishing Dwarf Fortress, and I was part of their team for like the past 4 years. Very recently joined Innersloth, and then in my like spare time of whatever amount of time I have, I also help co-organize Game and Color Montreal, which is a organization that amplifies and supports game developers of color in Canada and hopefully in the wider sphere of the world, but start small with an entire country and then continue on from there.
Yeah, I believe that's how Napoleon took over. He was just just one country. I just need one more country. And then what, like two countries? Sure, I'll take both.
I could do 2 countries, don't want to be too greedy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he was, but yeah. So what inspired you to start sharing more of yourself? Like what inspired you to be so open and honest about your mental health? Like, wait, so the video that I showed was also the one where you talk about like, oh, how do you work really? It's the TikTok where you're like, how do you work really well? Oh, it's depression. And then you work really well. And then it's anxiety. So what inspired you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this now?
Honestly, so I think like a lot of people, especially with like social media and stuff, as you consume more and more social media, it's very easy to get caught up in the fact that everyone's life seems really perfect or it's full of achievements because obviously that's like what people want to highlight or whatever. And I always knew that, but it was really hard to convince myself of that, even though I was also experiencing the same thing and that like cognitive dissonance or whatever. But especially when I started getting into the game space and working more in social and all of that, I was, especially when I first started out, really self-conscious of that. And I was like, how are these people so amazing and perfect? And I can never get into that. And I was like really jealous. Like I was like, I like kind of resent.
Sure.
Like, it's a terrible feeling, right?
No, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I resent this person for having more opportunities than me. And like, I can't believe like all this has happened. Like, I want to be able to do that. And then like, as like, I've been also like privileged in my own ways. And as I slowly like found more and more success, I was like, I really hope I'm trying my best to not put on the same front that I saw a lot of people put on, and not saying that they were necessarily bad or whatever.
No. But there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to put on a front. That's first. And second of all, maybe it's not even a front. It's just, I'm not giving you the whole truth. So sorry, continue.
No, it's totally fine. And like, obviously it's like, whatever you're comfortable with sharing online, that's totally fine. But I've always been very okay with being transparent, especially about mental health, in terms of like my family. Like there's been some things there, and then when I was growing up in high school, like there were some times where like mental health was a really important factor, and like I had a lot of close friends who were going through a lot of things, so it's always been something that's very prominent in my life, and so I'm more used to talking about it, I think, and more comfortable talking about it for sure.
That's really awesome because we were just talking on stream about the fact that like it's a lot of people talk about how they'll talk about mental health and not a lot of people actually do it, or it seems like super accepted and everybody's talking about it and everybody's honest and transparent, but then when you sit down and like have these honest discussions on Twitch, people are like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to watch somebody talk about depression for 2 hours."
Right.
And I like, listen, I get it. Like it could be a total bummer, but give it a shot. But yeah, so going back to you, do you find like the candidness, do you find that it's helped you, hurt you in any way? Do you find like have people kind of come to you and been like, "Oh, that was too much. I wasn't ready to know that about you," or anything like that?
Not necessarily. So the thing is that I think especially when you work as a community manager and a community director or whatever, I've seen this a lot. We're very conscious of like placing emotional burdens on people, right?
Right.
So like yes, I can talk about it because I can usually just brush it off as a joke, right? Like I can put a humorous spin on it, which is fine because it helps it people digest it easier.
Right.
But when it comes to actually like if I were like when I was running the Kitfox Discord or when I'm running the Innerslot Discord, it's like I'm not going in there being like, oh my gosh, I've had such a bad day. I'm so stressed out.
Right.
Like mods, you take it away. Whatever. I mean, like I might like confide in like one or two who are like I'm close to, but otherwise it's like I know that a lot of the time we try not to put that burden onto the community, and then we have other channels and other outlets in which we can kind of like be more open and be more like honest about maybe we're having a terrible day, or honestly just maybe not appear too much online at all, because that's also a really important
probably safer and healthier for you.
Oh, for sure.
So but no, I like that. I like that. But when you publicly share about mental health, like the TikToks that you make and everything, what is the response?
It's honestly surprisingly very positive.
That's awesome.
And yeah, no, it's great. And I haven't had the like someone like clearly being like, oh, stop talking about this, because I think at this point in 2020 especially, it's like a lot of people are like, yeah,
things suck.
we're all feeling that, we're all feeling it. And honestly it humanizes like just social media just a little bit to not have everything feel so perfect. And I'm sure like some people maybe don't want to like talk about it or think about it, in which case I haven't seen comments about it, but otherwise like generally people have been very positive, which is very nice.
Have you gotten the good old, because I once in a while, usually people are pretty positive and soft and supporting, but once in a while you get the, you're not depressed, you're smiling, like literally you're smiling, or how could you feel bad, you're successful. You have those? You have those?
Oh, so
collect them all?
of those.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's the thing where a lot of I get very, very anxious. Like I am an extremely anxious person, but I know I don't give off that feeling because, you know, like you kind of train yourself to not give off that feeling also when you're behind like a screen. It's like, you know, turn off the camera, cry later. I don't know.
Right. No. I mean, yes, I'm nodding. Yes, that's all accurate.
Yeah.
This checks out.
Yeah. So I have gotten like comments like that, and I also understand it. It's one of those weird things where like I get it, because it's like when someone says, "Oh, you're so pretty," and you don't believe it yourself, so you're like, "No, I'm not." Like, what are you talking about? Right. It's in a way not comforting. I wouldn't say that, because I don't want it to like say that basically what I'm saying is that when people say things like this, I understand that it's coming from like, they want to be in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that they want to be. It's a terrible way to lash out, and it's not a great way to communicate with someone. But it's in my mind, I'm like, okay, I don't want to use all my mental energy on this.
Okay.
And I hope like it goes okay for you. And like maybe if I have more mental energy, I could talk to you about it. But for now, it's like it's gonna happen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I look at that usually as a kind of like you said, it's going to happen, but in a like this person is trying to normalize things and is trying to make things feel smooth again, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Like they're
Yeah.
trying to be like, this isn't a problem. I don't want this. It's putting your head in the sand, really, is what it
Oh,
is.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. It's scary. It's scary to be confronted by something that you don't necessarily understand, or that you like, because it is terrible. Like, why would you want to believe that this is something that happens to people, or that
Right.
they can feel this way, and that you could possibly feel this way? I get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just, and it's hard to understand when you recognize it within yourself. You're like, yeah, but not me though. Like, I'm not that sad. I'm not that anxious. I'm fine. This is fine. So in terms of community management, how do you handle your like your bad and anxious? And you kind of mentioned this when you talk about you remove yourself, but if you can elaborate on that a little bit more, like how do you manage your bad days when there is, I don't know, like a 250,000 people looking? I actually, it's a shame, I haven't looked at the Among Us
Okay.
Twitter recently, but there's a ton of people looking at you. So mistakes are really big. Like the stakes must feel huge, and there's a lot of pressure there. So just tell us about your anxiety.
Yeah, no, so I to like preface this, it's one of those things where it's not perfect, right? Like I'm going to say like my coping mechanisms, but I can't say that I'm always the best at sticking to them.
Sure.
Like, they
Or that
help
they,
me,
yeah.
but like yeah, sometimes you have times where you slip, and that's totally normal, and that's fine. But for me, like the biggest things that help me is honestly, well, number one, always just having people you can trust, that you feel you can talk to. And that includes a therapist. Which I do have, so just putting that out there. And that's really valuable. Second is honestly having things that don't involve games in my life. So whether that's friends who just do not care about gaming,
Yeah.
whether that's a hobby that doesn't involve like online gaming or any like computer games or console games at all, is amazing. Like I bake or something, like that's great. Cookies, you get a reward at the end. But yeah, it's understanding that as much as there are eyes on you, it's a very focused lens, and it's a very small bubble, right? Like the Among Us Twitter can have 1 million followers. In the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the world, it's like I can I could still walk down the street, no one cares. Right? No one is going to care.
Yeah,
and in its own way, it's like I think the social media makes us really like perform ourselves, and really makes us think that we need to constantly be at the center of attention, and that are we living this life story that's living up to whatever social media presence we have.
Right.
And being able to remember that we can be small is strangely comforting to me. So when I get that pressure, I just go outside, and I'm like, well, world's not on fire technically. Still kind of feels like it, but it's nothing's on fire right in front of me. And that gives me a lot of comfort, for sure.
No, that's exactly it. Anytime anybody's asked me how to handle stuff, or I mean, I don't have the numbers that like Among Us has, but you get into an argument with somebody online, you get really heated. I feel like that flesh in your cheeks, and you're like, oh, I'm so mad. And then you walk out, and like I go and pick up my dog's poop, and I'm like, yeah, like he doesn't care. He doesn't care that I just argued with a stranger online. He doesn't.
It's so nice to have people who don't care in like the nicest way possible.
No,
It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
just if there's a world outside of the internet and games and Twitter, and like like games matter,
Tell me
and like I
about
know
it.
they can mean I know, right? They can mean a lot to us, but it's not losing the perspective of like, but grand scheme of things, there's also more of the world to explore.
Yeah. That's hard to remember when so much of your world's digital, and we're also
Mhm.
living in a time where we have to be connected digitally because being together in person might mean you kill the person you're next to. Like it's maybe on purpose, maybe not on purpose. I don't know. I don't know. It depends on how you feel about COVID, I suppose. But where was I going? That was a terrible joke, and I completely lost my train of thought. It was so not worth it.
It's okay.
It
It's
was
okay.
so not worth it. All right, we're just gonna move on to the next question, which is, so how do you handle how there's probably a lot of emotions also going on in like the Discord server for Inner Sloth, and people being mad because their game isn't working, or Julian getting blocked because he used proxy chat. Like stuff is happening all the time that is upsetting and frustrating people, and
Mhm.
that you have to. How do you not internalize that, like, oh, I messed up? Because I know that if it were me, I'd be constantly being like, oh, I'm such a screw up, oh, I messed it up again, oh, this person's right, I totally. Yeah, so how do you not internalize that?
That's really hard. I think like that feeling of making a mistake or failure is something I'm incredibly aware of. And I think I have never been able to get through like that initial gut reaction of like, I screwed up.
Hmm.
I'm a terrible person. I can't believe I did this. I'm so stupid. Like, that spiral, right?
Yeah, fun conversation with yourself.
So fun. Love having internal dialogues with myself. um but it's become the sort of thing, and again, this is where like the therapy comes in, the having other outlets comes in. But I've talked a lot more about this. I did a talk about failure marketing, about I basically listed off all the times I've done marketing campaigns for Kitbox and it failed terribly and I felt horrible and people made fun of it,
Right.
etc. um but the cool thing about it is that like when I would reflect on these failures now, like as much as they make me cringe or whatever, like no one actually remembers them, right? I
Yeah.
don't I don't think I've never like bumped into someone who's like, oh my god, like you're the girl who did that, or like, oh, do you remember when you did this community campaign and flopped? No, because like no one saw it.
But that's not right. Well, that's not, and that's what not what people remember you by. I hope so.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what we're flopping with, which is there's
Sure,
definitely
sure.
like a spectrum of them,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But I assume when we're talking about these ones, it's like the sort of smaller failures that people that we really internalize, when it's like doing something embarrassing or
Right.
tweeting something that people are like, oh, that wasn't a funny joke or whatever. Um, for those kinds of instances, it is a lot of having to once again shut down whatever social, delete it off your phone, whatever, and finding your own coping mechanisms, which is why it's like I think hard, because you can't give general advice for this, right?
Yeah.
Everyone kind of goes through the motions of failure or like being embarrassed by themselves, and for me that's either talking to people. It's honestly, for me, I like to analyze why I failed and see how I can do better next time.
Hmm.
And at one point I'm always like, okay, so I've done this thing, what can I do to make it better? Because at this point I don't know what wallowing in my own my own sadness will do, and I get really fired up and I'm like, you know what, it's fine, I'm going to show them that I can do better and it's going to be amazing, and they're going to be in awe of it, and then I try to do better. But it's definitely context dependent, and I wish there was like, just like one road people could follow, but I don't think there is.
So, my next question
Mhm.
is very serious, about the most serious mistake that you could possibly make: a
Okay.
spelling error. I know Twitter, like, I don't want Twitter to have an edit button, but it would be
I don't
really
want them to
great.
either.
It would be really great if instead of thy, I could quickly correct it to the, and just not have like four strangers tell me like, "Ooh, you made a spelling mistake actually," or So, how do you handle, like, I know this sounds really stupid, fam, for those of you who are watching this and going, it's a spelling mistake, but like, it's a big deal. It feels like a big deal.
It feels like a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it I don't know if you saw the launch of the Among Us Twitter account, but I did like every single tweet I put out there the first when it first launched, I had a spelling mistake. And it was really bad. It was really bad as in like I tweeted it, then I went on the studio account, like the Innersloth dev account, I retweeted it and then saw the spelling mistake, had to unretweet it, had to go back,
Oh,
delete it and it was a whole thing. And
oh
there's
man.
like several instances where this happened and like uh for me it was I was like, you know what? People make spelling errors on Twitter. People make typos all the time. I always make typos. Like I'm just going to roll it. Like it it kind of went into my thing of like, you know what? I'm not going to hide how difficult this can be sometimes because, you know, a lot of the time on Twitter like you feel like you need to be polished, you need to be a certain way.
Right.
Um and for Among Us, I was like, I'm just going to try and be and have as much fun with this as possible because I don't want to burn out and I want to continually enjoy this job, which I do. So if I make a mistake, I'm just going to admit to it because people make mistakes. It's the same thing where like I will talk about mental health because I'm like it happens. It's going to happen. Please don't put this like high bar of like what I should be or what I should be doing. And it worked out really well. So
No, that's really awesome because it's a very, I feel like that's a super awesome, responsible thing of you because a lot of people just take the spotlight and then grin and bear it and be like,
mm,
well, this is, what did I expect? Like, this is, I'm in the public eye, so I have to be to X standard and I can't show this side of me and that's how it is. And I kind of, I actually wonder where the line is in the opposite direction because I also feel like for me, I have a harder time keeping that back where like I feel something and it feels very strong and I want to post about it. Like
mhm,
and I've definitely like posted an angry tweet, but it's more like, "Hey, I feel really freaking sad right now and I want to
mhm,
let the world know." And so there's a balance though there because if you tweet about being sad too much, people start getting fatigue and they're like, I
mhm,
don't want to just follow this account that tweets about being sad so much, but
mhm,
I live with depression, so I'm sad a lot. Or someone with anxiety is anxious a lot. So you tweet about how you're anxious. Like how do you stay authentic while also keeping in mind that like, you don't want to scare everybody away. You
mhm,
don't
mhm.
want, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is like a very interesting balance, and the way I've sort of put it is that when I'm tweeting about being sad, is it because I actually like am I tweeting I'm sad because I want an emotional crutch? Like is am I treating the
Mm.
symptom instead of like the actual disease? And when I think about that before I tweet like I'm sad or whatever,
Mhm.
then I'm like okay, I don't think I'm in the right place to tweet this right now because then I'm also just going to get notifications of people reminding me how sad I am,
Right.
right? Uh, even though they're saying nice things, like they're saying great things, and it's really nice. So I try to limit it to like, okay, so if I'm sad, is there is it because one like there's something educational here and I'm not saying like your sadness needs a purpose every single
No,
time.
no, I
This
get
is
you.
just how yeah, this is just personally how I like balance it. It's like do I feel like there is something to contribute to the sadness or am I asking people to do emotional labor for me, of
Mhm.
which like they might have not necessarily signed up for, but I mean they're following me, it's all that, but like would
Right.
I feel better just talking to a friend who actually understands me and
Right.
knows me personally instead of going to the internet and just looking for the like you're doing great, you're doing like which is still very nice, but um yeah, for me it's like I said, it's just wanting to make sure I'm not using my social media page as a crutch, and as like a pseudo therapy that when I should actually be talking to people or going to therapy.
No, I like that. I like that's a really because I try to balance that, but I've
Mhm,
never put it to words so eloquently. Like you, I feel like you put it really well that it's about what is the purpose of this tweet? Is this to help me, or is this to provide something for the people
Yeah,
I'm
is it to
tweeting to?
provide context and to
Right,
like normalize depression, that kind of thing? Or is it
right.
literally just me being like, tell me something?
Right. Tell
Yeah.
me how I'm not supposed to be sad. I There is also a problem where I will tweet something for awareness, but people come back with a, "Oh, don't feel bad. Hugs, hugs." I'm like, "No. I don't feel this
Yeah.
right now. I'm just letting you
Mhm.
know that this is a thing that, okay, thank you for the hugs. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you. Yep.
it's fine. It's fine. If people misunderstand it, they misunderstand, but you tried.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Um this is so good. Okay, wait. I closed my questions over here.
All good. All
Okay.
good.
Okay. Do you feel like, so all of this being said and done, do you feel like mental health is discussed enough in the gaming space, specifically community directors, devs, like everybody who is involved in the release of a game? What are your thoughts? Just, I guess, what are your thoughts there?
I think within game development, within community manager like groupings and whatnot, it is. But I do think there's a strange like mismatch of how what mental health is talked about and like how and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, like not I think community developers, community managers need a lot, moderators too. It's like it's a really tough job, and like I wish there were more resources out there, like more uh this is going to be a slight tangent.
No, no, go,
I
go, go.
only I only recently started going to therapy, like
Hmm.
this year, within the like second half of the year,
Hmm.
because I had grown up quite poor. So the thought of $100 therapy sessions
Right.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
That gives me the I'm like, oh my God. And I understand it's worth the investment. I definitely am like, yes, it is worth the investment. But that hurdle of like, um paying for therapy was like a really big like mental blocker for me, and I never looked for it, even though I was
You're
like, yeah, go
definitely
to
not
therapy,
alone.
it's totally fine, like
Yeah.
you should do it. I
Yeah.
was saying that I was not going to therapy myself. um
No, but it's also easy, or rather difficult, because it's also you saying, I'm worthy of spending $100 on myself weekly,
mhm.
bi-weekly, monthly. It's a lot of hurdles to go through. It's
Yeah,
not just, and then
yeah,
there's the physical, like $100 you gotta lay off. And again, I think therapists deserve the money that we absolutely,
yes, for
but
sure, for sure.
yeah, I would pay them more if I could. But yeah, no, it's a lot of hurdles for sure.
And like, the first therapist you find might not be the perfect therapist for you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot. So I would say like one of the things that really helped was the fact that at the time Kitfox like paid for therapy sessions, not like all of
Nice.
them, but like
No,
it had
no.
a sizable chunk of like money where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like you can go see a therapist. And I think giving like studios, game developers, that kind of resource is really helpful. But also like mental health can be talked about, but you can have studio management kind of tell you the exact opposite with like their
Yeah.
policies, or like being like, we're family, like we have to really work on this game to get it out in time because don't you care about the family? I'm like,
Right.
I care, of course I care, but I also need to not burn out.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and and honestly, one of the things that I've noticed quite a bit is I feel like a lot of usually like straight cis men do not talk about mental health as much as I would love them to.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And like
Absolutely.
that's its whole like toxic masculinity thing,
We've
which
talked
is
about it. Yeah.
unfortunate.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so I do talk about mental health a lot with like many people, but I have found that like a lot of my cis straight like guy friends don't have that sort of ability to talk with each other about it, and sometimes we'll lean on the opposite sex or whatever
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
chat about it.
Yeah.
And
Emotional labor is a thing for sure.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think it is talked about, but in very certain groups of game development, and not necessarily at the higher levels that we need it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And I mean, this is a conversation that's not happening across pretty much every field, but the issue that you're describing definitely happens to me in editorial, where I have, oh, mental health is important, depression is super important. Oh, but you're depressed and that's when you need to take a day off. Oh, okay.
Yeah, can you do that on like Tuesday?
Yeah, can you do that? I had to, so my current boss is amazing. I had to get out of the habit of telling him that I would take a Friday off. And I would be like, I'm taking a Friday off for a sick day because I really need a mental health day. And he was like, do you understand how sick days work? Like you just take it. You're not supposed to like tell me why or like warn me. And I was like, well, in case we're in a crunch or something, I don't want you. And he's like, yeah, but are you not feeling well? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so what does it matter if we're in a crunch? You're not feeling well.
Yeah.
And I said, but it was like a foreign language, because I was like, oh, I mean, what you're saying makes sense, but I've never seen it applied before. So yeah.
Yes, for sure. Same thing when I was working at and I'll be talking about Kid Fox a lot because I literally just joined Intersectional.
No, you're fine. I literally told everybody. I was like, I mean, it's really cool that she works for Intersloth, but like, I didn't know that when I asked her to come on the show. So
yes. So it's all very new. Same at Kid Fox. It was like I am naturally sort of like a workaholic. And it was a thing where my boss would like actively come to me and be like, you need to take your vacation days. I'm like, but there's so many events next week and I have to prepare for it. She's like, we can take care of it. If you feel like you can't take care of it, that just means we've done like a bad job of making sure that you have enough resources. Take a vacation. And I'm like, I can't. And then I would take a vacation and be like, this is great.
This feels great.
Do people know about this?
Yeah.
Do people know about vacation days?
What? I feel so much more refreshed and ready to work. And what? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's question time, because questions are coming in and I'm watching them. She's down. Oh, no. Oh, you should have told me sooner. Of course I can bring up her volume.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, somebody should have told me sooner. Oh, no. Literally. Okay, so volume fixed. Okay, so we have questions from the audience already coming in. So I wanted to... No, don't be sorry, Wallstormer. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I wanted, if the person who wanted to give out free codes for Among Us is still here, just please message my moderators before you post a random code in chat. That's very, very sweet, but, they rightly purged you because they were nervous. So if you message them beforehand and let them know that these aren't codes for like porn or something, I don't know what you can give codes for. So yeah, please just talk to the moderators. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna hit exclamation list. If you would like to join the list, please hit exclamation list. And then put your question after that, and that will add you to the list of questions so we can keep track. If you don't do that, I cannot keep track of your question because there's way too much happening at the same time. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Okay, so we do Kid Carbon asks, please try to focus on mental health. I understand it's very tempting to ask about Among Us, but...
Oh no!
It's okay. I mean, this one's totally tame, and I love you, Kid Carbon. Will there be a native Mac version of Among Us? Okay, she can't tell you. So
I can't say anything. I'm sorry. I'm sworn to secrecy, so I cannot say anything.
There you go. Okay, so that's what you get, unfortunately. All right. The next question is, have you ever, and if you've asked a question, please wait for me to clear the queue before you ask another question. But it's only one question at a time. That's the fastest way to explain it. Okay. Have you experienced judgment by people based on both your mental health and being a BIPOC person?
Yeah. Sorry, like just any general judgment.
Yeah. Have people discriminated against you or judged you?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot. I mean, whether it's intersectional judgment of being like a cis woman in the space, I'm Vietnamese, And so people do get the sense that it's like, oh, she like has to be really nice and like kind of weirdly like some you know,
Yeah.
really demure. I'm
Yep.
like, oh God, you know, that kind of thing. Or like I've been in a lot of business development meetings where people will make inappropriate comments or they'll kind of just brush over me or like they will not look at me, they will look at my male coworker and try to get answers only I would have, and I would respond to them and they would still like only try to address my like male coworker because apparently like it's that kind of thing. And the
Lovely.
fact I know it's lovely. And the fact that I think talk about mental health a lot and I'm seen as sometimes like quite soft, I guess, like
Sure.
from first glance and whatnot. Um yeah, I think people sometimes believe I can't handle any type of pressure or that they can take advantage of like me during meetings or when I have to like be very businessy, which is unfortunate for sure. But it's one of those things where I would rather be honest to people than to harden myself and then just try to become like one of like the corporate bigwigs and like not try to be honest with myself or with the people I interact with. So
Oh my gosh. Me? Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a genuine problem, not just being ignored because of whatever is going
Mhm.
on, but also just feeling the I have I have a big fear and a big thing that I've been fighting recently on Twitter is people being like, "You had an opinion. That was too loud," or "You seemed really mad when you tweeted that." Like
Mhm.
I get mad too. It's true. I don't just talk about depression, anxiety, and I also get mad sometimes. What are you going to do about it? Like yeah, it's something
Yeah.
and it also I feel like it is a little I don't want to use this word cuz I feel like it's a powerful word, but like it's a little bit of discrimination because there is an assumption definitely that people with mental illnesses cannot handle pressure like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't want to give you too many things to do cuz you're going to get really overwhelmed," right? Like it's everything you said. So I'm sorry, I'm just repeating what you're saying at this
Mhm.
point.
Mhm. Yeah. No, no, for sure I get it. And like I'm also it's the worst. It's not the worst. It sometimes gets like when I'm really happy or angry or sad, I cry. Like it doesn't
It's
mean
just
I'm like
cry. Yeah.
I just cry. Like it just happens. And I'm like, ah, well, okay, this is gonna happen, I guess. But you know, it comes off a certain way, especially when people can't handle tears. It's like, you're so emotional.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
are you
Oh
okay? It's like,
yeah. That'll snap me out of it though cuz I'll be like,
oh yes. You're like,
"Mm,
oh, we're going there.
yeah." I'm like, "Oh, we're emotional. Okay, all right. I just learned everything I need to know about you." Okay. Yeah, I'm emotional. Okay. Yeah. Don't shrink yourself so others feel better unless they're man spreading. Then stay in your own sea.
Man spread back. No.
Oh my gosh. No, 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 no. We got it. We got the next cue. It's all good. It's all good. All right. The next question is from Surreal, which is, do you have game? Do you wait, Surreal? What is the question? Do you which? Okay, just tell me what your favorite game is. That's where we're gonna go from here.
My current I mean, my I don't it's really hard to pick like an all-time favorite game for sure, but the answer I've been giving a lot of people for now has been Undertale.
Oh, why? Tell me why.
Undertale came into my life at a very certain point where it just like connected with me. And I love the sort of how the monsters have an even more human connection like with their characters and with their storylines and the ways they interact with each other. And it's really encouraging and really sad and really scary at the same time. And I love that. I love the human connection that a game can bring, and Undertale I think does that in one of the best ways.
Oh, I love that. Is there Surreal's asking, is there like a cozy, comfy game that you am I frozen? No?
No, you're not
Okay.
frozen
All
to
right.
me.
Because just told me the internet is unstable. You lie, Zoom. You lie. Yeah. Do you have like a comfy cozy game? I don't know much about Undertale. Is it comfy cozy or not really?
Uh, depending how you play it, it could be comfy cozy.
Okay. All right. Fair. Fair. But it's not
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, is what you're.
No,
What?
it's
Yeah.
not Animal Crossing. It's not Animal Crossing. Oh, there's so many comfy cozy. I mean, there is Animal Crossing.
There is Animal Crossing. There's also
A
we.
short hike. A short hike
Yeah.
is adorable. It's a short game. It's all about gliding and like collecting feathers, and it's super
Oh.
cute. And the person who makes it is amazing. They're an awesome person. Um, and highly recommend picking it up. There's so many others. I'm currently looking forward to Venba, which is a game about your immigrant Indian mom cooking for you, and you get to make cooking
Oh.
recipes, and it's really
Wait,
exciting.
that's
But yeah,
really adorable. I'm so grateful that somebody
yeah,
made that because
I
I
know.
don't have that experience in my life. I want to simulate that. That's amazing. Aw.
No, it's lovely. It's definitely check them out. I don't know when they're coming out, but uh, when it does come out, I'm ready.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, educational cooking game. Yeah, because they're all cozy. Exactly. If you have questions, please add them exclamation list and then the question. Try to keep them related to the topic of mental health and stuff. But the questions so far have been okay. My next question is from Leshy, which is oh, I don't know if you could say this. Similar to games like Kind Words, Life is Strange, Hellblade. Those are three different games.
Those are extremely different games, but okay.
But basically, games with mental health themes. Do you know of any games with mental health themes that might be happening down the line somewhere that you might be in some? This is not the question. This is me trying to soften this in some way tied to or connected to in any shape or form. Wink twice. No.
Uh, no. Honestly, I'm sure there are, but I cannot, off the top of my head, think of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
fair.
I'm
No,
sure there
that's
is.
fair. That's more than fair. You're fine. You're fine. We kind of put you on the spot here. Okay. So, okay. Oh, by the way, I didn't it's in my heckin' list here to ask you and to congratulate you for winning the Game Awards. That is so cool.
Oh, thank you so
Congratulations
much.
to Among Us and Inner Sloth. I
Thank
put it in my notes
you.
and then I would have been mad if I totally forgot that. Whew.
I appreciate it. I
That's so
appreciate it.
cool. How did that, oh man, how did that feel having to do that remotely?
Yeah, I mean, I really wish I could have been there for sure. But it was still really cool. The fact that they thought to even just call me on the phone to have me like even semi be a part of it was really nice because I don't live near them at all. And then I was also watching the Game Awards with a bunch of other game developer friends. So yeah, it didn't feel alone. It was really nice. It was surreal, honestly.
Yeah, no,
Still don't believe that happened.
it's so cool. It's so cool. I got really excited for you. But yeah, Among Us was just released on Switch. Yes, it was.
Yes, it's
Yay.
been a day.
Thank you for coming on. I like that you were also like, hey, I have a ton of meetings, and I'm like, what? Come on. Yeah, she probably has a ton of meetings.
No, but no, this is I love this. I love
This is
being here.
good. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, wait, we kind of answered that. Oh, Leshy asks, congrats on everybody in chat's being super sweet. Wait, let me refreshy. Leshy asks, Victoria, would you say that showing your mental health struggles and imperfections makes you become across as more honest and transparent? I personally think it does. And you kind of touched upon this, so.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it definitely, I think, makes me feel less like and I like this. I try to do this with any Twitter account I touch, I suppose, or any social media page I touch, of to not seem perfect, because I never want to put that pressure on anyone or myself. So yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. And I'm glad that you think so. So thank you.
Did you find that in the beginning you were putting more of that on
Oh,
yourself,
yeah.
and so you kind of went through and learned and went through a phase?
Yeah. When I first started at Kid Fox, I was really nervous. Like, first time jitter, like it was my first like real games industry job. And I was like, I need to be perfect. I need to never make any mistakes. And like, I wasn't bad, but it like everything fell really flat. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't having as much fun as I thought I would. I wasn't enjoying the work, even though I knew it was something I wanted to do. And I realized it was because I was suppressing myself and putting this immense pressure to be perfect at the start of my job. And yeah, so I definitely learned to grow out of it. And I think that's the thing. It's like everyone doesn't like no one sees how much I struggled to figure out what my social media voice was or like how I got
Mhm.
here. It was
Mhm.
a very long process and I had a lot of help along the way for sure.
Aw. Do you feel like did you have mentors that you kind of think made you, and yeah, you had the opportunity to work with somebody
Hmm.
who supported you like that?
Yeah, yeah, and like I was very so the captain of Kit Fox, Tanya X Short, she's like lovely, and I feel I'm eternally grateful for her for like
Aw.
navigating me through game development, and also just like along the way of not being afraid to ask for help from community managers who had tons more experience than me. There's Beck says words from Twitter who works, oh gosh, I'm sorry, grinding gears, Path of Exile, and I've like asked her a bunch of questions before.
Aw.
There's yeah, no, it's asking for help, I think is a skill and an ability that I think more people can take advantage of. It's been very helpful for me.
Aw. Uh, okay. Okay. I'm reading. I'm sorry. I'm not
Oh no, no,
I hope
don't
that
worry.
wasn't like a reaction. Oh no. Yeah, so what is the hardest process? What is the hardest part of launching a game overall? Like, is it the mentally, of course. I
Hmm.
mean, like, like there's an immense amount of pressure. Again, you kind of explained it all, where you say, I try not to put like that much pressure to be perfect and everything, but you want to do a good job. So what's the pressure like to like launch a game and do it well? And yeah.
Yeah. I think so. The interesting thing about this for me is the biggest pressure always is not necessarily um I want to do well. It's the sudden pressure and knowledge, especially in an indie studio, depending on where also you are financially, it's like all these people are depending on me to do a good job, right? It's no longer just about me, like, oh, I'm having fun on this social media account, or like I'm creating a marketing strategy. Now it's like, how, like, will this game make enough money that it's like, financially successful for the studio? But also, as a community manager, you have seen the developers work on this for like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, right?
Hmm.
And they've been waiting for this one moment to launch the game.
Right.
And now suddenly all that immense pressure and like hope and like dreams are put onto you when you like finally like start doing your whole thing and getting the word out there. And I think the hardest part is acknowledging that it's not your fault if the game doesn't necessarily do well, and that no one resents you. Hopefully you
Right.
work in a place where no one resents you for that, right? It's a team effort. It's something that is not always in your control. But I know like people, a lot of community managers, a lot of community directors want to please people, and when that doesn't happen, that can get really stressful.
Gotcha. That's so do you how I mean, how do you handle that when you get to that next part of, okay, this launched, it wasn't as big as we wanted it to be. Actually,
Mhm.
and then there's the opposite side of that. Like, oh, this is way bigger than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so with the first one of it not being as big as whatever, it's like I think no matter how sad or whatever blue you might feel, it's remembering like being great, like grateful and celebrating all the work that was put in it, because no matter what, even if the game didn't do well, like you launched a game, and that is amazing. I can assure you, no one understands how games are made, not even the people making them. It's like magic to us. We're just like, okay, I guess this works. Like this wall will have love like a 10 million health points because we don't know how to make it indestructible, so it's just going to do that, and we hope no one hits it 10 million times.
Right.
It's just so weird and strange, and creating something is incredible no matter what. So yeah, I think it's being able to recognize the things that went well, and know that there is still plenty to be grateful for and that you made an amazing thing. On the flip side, if it does really well, then there's a different excitement there. And the problem there is to make sure you don't burn yourself out trying to catch up with everything. Right.
Right.
So like the Switch launch was today.
Right.
I could potentially have just been like, I'm too busy, like I'm tired, I don't want to hop on a stream to talk
No,
about mental
and that would have
health.
been fair. I would have been like, yeah, you just launched the game on Switch. I get it. It's
No,
cool. But
yeah,
go, yeah.
but it's like remembering to put the world is not going to end if you take an hour off, or if you
Right.
stop at 5 p.m. like you're supposed to, because that's when work ends, eat dinner, take a break, and then hop onto a call where you get to talk with someone amazing and like be relaxed and feel like there's not all this pressure of like 10,000 people yelling at you about how about all these other like platforms, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's setting your own boundaries for sure and sticking to them even when you do not want to.
Work. You gotta work. You're only useful if you're working. Didn't you know?
Capitalism.
Capitalism. You mentioned that you just started to go to therapy. What was a hurdle that you had to jump through to finally go? I don't go. It is an unknown for me. As someone who's now going, what are some of the words of wisdom you can give me to perhaps encourage me? Asks Razor Pyro. That's a really cute question.
Oh, you can do it. I mean, I think it's so much. It depends, I think, on what is blocking you, right? So for me it was finances, and also just generally being like, I don't think I'm worth, like you said, like I'm not worth $100 whatever
Right.
per week to
Right.
do with this.
Right.
But you have to remember that so I guess the way I put it is that I sometimes try to think of myself as in the third person of like, if I were a friend to myself and I was like doing all these things and I was like, I think I need to go to therapy, but like I'm afraid of this and this and this. Like what would you say to that person? And like if you and like would you ever say like the terrible things you're saying to yourself to like a friend of yours? And it's like, if that's no, then you are also like deserving of all the love and attention you would give a very close friend of yours or someone you care about, because those people also care about you and want the best for you. And it's a kind of thing where I know it's like a whole like self-love thing, and I'm someone who sometimes gets like all weird about like super positive like happy sunshine rainbow talk. But I love it sometimes, and in this instance it's like, yes, it's okay to care about yourself and to put yourself first. And I know it's going to be a thing where I can say it, and the only thing that matters is that it resonates with you somehow in whichever way you want to put it, right? And for me, that was thinking of myself as a third person and forcing friend me to go to therapy.
No, that's really cute. I like
Yeah.
that. That's a great trick. It's a great trick to talk to yourself kinder. It's good. It's a good one. I like it. I like it a lot. Daitu asks, "Hey Victoria, you have a really brave and kind community manager. We have a really brave and kind community manager, but she's new at her job. Could you give her a couple of tips?"
I know who asked this. Yeah. Wait, sorry, did it say give her a couple of tips? Or
yeah, like I guess what kind of tips would you give a new community manager?
Right. So if you are completely, I mean, okay, again, it depends on, there's so much things where I'm like, I think there's so much context of like, are you new to community management? Is this a community that's already existed? Is this a completely new thing? But for me, like when I first joined Intersloth, for example, which was a lot, it's giving yourself time to honestly do nothing. As in, I would read a lot. So before I joined Intersloth, and maybe I should have done this while I was working at Intersloth, all I would do was like read how the community talked to each other. I would read how the developers interacted with each other, how they tweeted, how what community jokes there were. Like actually I did this for Dwarf Fortress as well, where I kind of just spent a lot of time just reading and seeing how everyone talked to each other and kind of getting used to the vibe of each group. Because when you first jump into something, I think it's very hard. It feels like you're one person in this sea of people who all know each other and you're the only one that's left out, and it's really scary. So being able to familiarize yourself with that and just giving yourself time to slowly lean into things, has been immensely helpful for when I've joined new communities, for sure. It don't worry about like attracting as many people as possible. Just like focus on one or two people, slowly grow from there. And then as you get more and more comfortable, then you can expand your like your social net of like, okay, so I've handled this tiny portion of Twitter. Now I'm comfortable talking a little bit more on Discord. Now that that's done, now I can talk more on wherever. And yeah, it's just slowly easing yourself in instead of just jumping in and trying to take up everything that you think you should take up all at once.
Right. Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay. So give yourself space and time. And I think the big central theme here is be nice to yourself. Okay. Be nice.
Just be nice to yourself.
Be nice to yourself. You gotta be nice to other people, but be nice to yourself too. Yeah. Stride Cipher asks, what is a recent accomplishment that you have as a community director that sticks out the most for you concerning mental health and how it helped the community or the game itself improve, innovate, or etc.? That's a great question. Ooh.
Wait, sorry, can you ask that again?
Yes. What is a recent accomplishment that you've gotten as a community director that sticks out to you that maybe concerns mental health and somehow helping the community and the game itself improve through some kind of, mental health related thing?
Ooh, that is very good. That is very good. Oh, I think there's like several instances, so I'm trying to choose my favorite, which is good, I think. I think my favorite thing that has stuck with me has been when I was working on Boyfriend Dungeon, and with events that we do, like when we could go to physical events, like I think it was at a PAX West last year, maybe.
Oh, those were things we did.
What a time. maybe whatever. So Boyfriend Dungeon is like supposed to be like a very inclusive game. Like you can pick your pronouns. There's a lot of different characters to date. And one of the things when we're doing events is that I always like create a sheet for people of like, here's the, like, because it's always the developers that work the booth, but like, here's a sheet of like top line information. This is what the game is about. And then there's like some tips about like how to run a booth. And like a really important thing is always like, if they have like, don't assume someone's pronouns, right? Like you can use they or them, or if they have their like badge, which is awesome, then use that and like keep an eye out for it. And it's never been like a thing that was like very like I just thought it was in there, but like I wasn't sure like how much it was doing. PAX West ends and I got this email from some random PAX goer who's like, hey, to the people who worked at the Kit Fox booth, I just wanted to email you because PAX West was the first time I decided to go out with my they them pronouns, and it was the first time where I was at a booth where everyone was using my pronouns without me having to correct them, and it didn't seem weird and it didn't seem awkward, and it was a really validating first experience for me. And I just wanted to email you to say thank you for that. And I was like, I'm gonna cry. Like, that was really sweet.
That is so sweet. Oh my goodness.
It is. And I think it's one of those things where I know we can get caught up in like wanting to create like grand gestures, and I think those are great, like, huge organizations and whatever, but it is always the groundwork. It is always those individual reactions that stick with people and that kind of create that butterfly effect of like, oh, it does make a difference and it does make change. Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much. That is a beautiful note to close us off on. So thank you for that. That was gorgeous. And Stride Cipher, thank you so much for the beautiful question as well. Yes. So please, I should have been spamming these more often in chat. I'm sorry, I got very, very distracted and excited. Your links, all of your links.
Tell us how, it's totally fine.
Tell us how peeps can find you and whatnot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, obviously, at the VTran. I write a lot of articles and try to share knowledge on my personal website, which is victoriatran.com. And yeah, you can find all Inner Sloth Among Us things, innersloth.com, Among Us Game on Twitter, which is everywhere online.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you so much for being on, everybody. We are going to BRB, and when we come back, we're going to do some more Animal Crossing, but I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Victoria. Thank you.